Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be building and painting a base from start to finish. But first of all I want to say a huge thank you to my YouTube channel sponsors Goblin Gaming. All the products featured in today's video can be purchased from Goblin Gaming using the link in the description box below. That link is very important to me guys, as every time you purchase something from Goblin Gaming it greatly helps my YouTube channel by directly funding me. So please use that description box link if you are purchasing anything from Goblin Gaming. Okay guys, this is going to be a relatively quick tutorial, unlike most of my tutorials, so let's get started. The first thing to note is I use Woodland Scenic's Ballast Fine. It doesn't matter about the colour, although I'm using buff, because you're going to paint over it anyway, so whichever colour ballast you get is fine, but I've got buff as you can see here, and it's the fine grain ballast. It's important to know that the fine grain is the best grain to use for 28mm sized miniatures, as it will give you the most authentic and realistic looking terrain. You can use PVA glue to set your ballast, but I'm using super glue here as it sets instantly, and PVA glue takes a while to cure, so I'm using super glue just for convenience in the fact that it's going to cure straight away. I also want to add that the super glue I'm using is the Army Painter. Now this is fantastic value for money. The amount of super glue that you get in the tub for the money is fantastic, I think, so I really am a big fan of the Army Painter super glue. Once I've got the super glue covered on all of the base, I then dip it in the ballast and make sure I just rub off any excess ballast that's not stuck to the super glue. Clean the lip of the base and make sure that there's no ballast that's sticking to the outside of the base, and then we're done. You can add other sizes of ballast to your base as well. You can use core size and you can use medium ballast just to mix it up a bit. Here I'm going to add a core size ballast piece and I'm going to use it as a rock. So I'm just going to glue it to the base. I think the most important thing to note guys is when you're making your base is that you, as I mentioned earlier, use the fine grain Woodland Scenic's ballast or an equivalent ballast from another company, because if you use a coarse ballast or even a medium ballast on its own, you'll find that the grains are just too big and it'll look like your Space Marine, for example, is standing on, I don't know, lava rocks or something, and it just won't seem correct to scale. But here you can see I've got the base fully made with a little rock in there that's just going to add a nice little decorative touch. Now I'm going to prime the base using Alclad 2's Lacquer Primer Grey. You can use white here, you can also use black, but I find it easier to use grey or white primers as the paint will cover over it much easier than black. You don't have to airbrush your bases with the primer. You can use rattle can primers from Games Workshop, or you can use hand painting primers that Games Workshop do and other manufacturers. Now we're going to be base coating the base using Vallejo Game Air Earth. Now again, you can brush paint this or you can airbrush it as I'm doing. This doesn't need diluting as it's pre-thinned in the bottle, and I'm just painting at 20 psi, and this is going to take no more than 20 or 30 seconds. After using a hairdryer to dry the paint, I'm coming back in with the Army Painter's Strong Tone. This is a direct equivalent of Games Workshop's Agrax Earthshade, but I actually prefer this as you get more paint for the money. After allowing the base to dry and using a hairdryer to speed up the process, I'm coming in with Games Workshop Base Paint Zandri Dust. We're going to be dry brushing the base, and it's very important that you use the correct type of brush. I'm using Games Workshop's medium dry brush, size dry brush, and as you can see I'm removing pretty much all of the excess paint off the brush, and we're just going to gently brush backwards and forwards on the base, which is going to highlight all those grains of sand or ballast if you like, and it's going to make it look so much better. Vallejo Game Air Somber Grey is going to be hand painted onto the rock that we placed on the base earlier. Vallejo Game Air Wolf Grey is going to be dry brushed onto that rock. Now we're going to add some of the Army Painter's Winter Tufts. These are great decorative touches that you can add to your bases, and they're so simple to use. They have a sticky back to them, so you just literally pull them off of the paper that they're attached to and you place them down on the base like so. The reason I'm using the Winter Tufts is I'm going to add a little snow later on, so the Winter Tufts are going to look even better than some of the other tufts that you can purchase from the Army Painter. Next we're going to be using some of Games Workshop's Valhalla Blizzard. Now this is so simple to use guys and gives great effects. I couldn't find my modelling tool, so I'm using a very old base. Do not use your good quality paint brushes with this material, as it will ruin the bristles of the brush. So as I say, I'm using a really old brush here that I don't mind if it gets a little more ruined. The most important thing to note guys is on the very edges of the snow that you're placing down is that you feather it in to the base to make it look like it's going thinner towards the edges where it's melting, and then it's thicker towards the middle where the snow is quite thick and fluffy. If you do this, then the snow will look so much more realistic. Lastly, to finish the base off, I'm going to be using Vallejo Game Air Black. And this is a fantastic paint. It's really thin and it gives great coverage, so you're less likely to get a brush stroke marks on your base. And as you can see, I'm actually coming in from the side of the base with the brush, and I'm not coming in from the front or the top, as if you do, you risk actually getting paint on the beautiful paintwork that you've just done. And here you can see the finished base. This was so simple to do, guys, and took me about 15 to 20 minutes to paint it and build it from start to finish. You can do these bases yourself using the products that I mentioned earlier that you can purchase from Goblin Gaming. Please use that link in the description box below, as I mentioned earlier, as it greatly helps my YouTube channel. And I really hope you like this tutorial, guys. Let me know in the comments field down below what you thought of this tutorial, and thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.